makers, welcome to Always Yarn First, a podcast about knitting, crochet, and all the yarny goodness in between. I'm Lindsey, and I'm coming to you from Little Rock, Arkansas. You can find me on Instagram and Ravelry as Always Yarn First. Welcome, this is episode 20. And before we get into the podcast, I always like to mention the make-alongs I'm currently running so that you know. The first one is hashtag the Chevron Year Itch. It is a year-long make-along with my friend Lori from Arkansas Yarn Co. We are making chevron blankets. That's the only requirement. And you can knit, crochet. If you use Lori's yarn from Arkansas Yarn Co., you get double entries. You use the hashtag on Instagram to be entered to win, or you could go to Arkansas Yarn Co. on Ravelry, their group, and there is a place where you can put your pictures in there. Also, this year I am running a /My Stash 2022 MAL. The only requirement for that is you can make anything, but it has to be 100% from your stash as of January 1st. So it has to be that you had it in your stash before this calendar year. And I'm pulling a monthly prize winner for that. And the monthly winner gets a yarn from my stash to yours, because I've been also trying to work on my stash. So please use the hashtag for that. I also have a Always Yarn First group on Ravelry that you can go on there and enter your picture there. And I pulled from that also. So welcome. Today is Saturday, September 17th. If you are new here, I name every episode after a song that I love because I'm a huge music fan, all kinds of genres. So I thought it would, maybe it's lame, whatever, but I named this episode September, and the song by Earth, Wind & Fire. So I have a link below to that song. I will also have everything down below, what I mentioned, some links to some shops, otherwise all the pattern info and makers and such below. So welcome to the podcast. Thank you for the new viewers that are here. I appreciate you. So I don't know if you've noticed the last two podcasts, I keep forgetting to mention, I am now putting in kind of a menu in the notes. So basically, if you want to skip around or you only want to see my finished objects whips, I have timestamps below. So you can skip around into those and you can see what I talk about in general this episode. So first of all, we'll go into the finished objects, and I have two. So I have the second dishcloth. Last time I had finished this one, I mentioned a friend of mine came through and spent the night, and she had brought her cousin who was moving into a new place, and so I made her some dishcloths. So she will be moving shortly, and I will be sending these off in the mail to her. As I've mentioned before, this pattern is free. It is not on Ravelry. It is on lovecrafts.com, and it is called the Classic Easy Dishcloths by Carolyn, Stanton. Really enjoy this pattern, nice and even. So I just kind of have a cotton stash. I don't really keep the tags anymore. It's just miscellaneous. I can tell these two are totally different. But I just kind of use my cotton stash for when I feel like making some dishcloths. So that's what that's from. The second finished object I talked about last time, and I don't have it because it is already at Arkansas Yarn Co. It is a store sample, but I will insert a picture of the Tassels in the Sky. This is a pattern by Vincent, Villapando, and this was the one I had mentioned last time. It was my first time using slub yarn and Suri yarn, and I love them both. Spoiler alert, we're going to talk about it still later on in the episode. So it is beautiful. The colors too, I used Peach Mojito in the slub, and I used Wedding Cake, which is essentially undyed yarn, as the Suri silk, and the color is beautiful. I love it so much. Quick, easy little project. You don't need to use the slub. You could use, very much stash yarn. I wish I would have weighed how much I had left. because I had plenty left of each yarn. I did not use a whole full skein. I'm sorry. I feel like I have a hair in my eye. So, wonderful project. Definitely recommend. And the pattern is free. And since the pattern's free, I'm not spoiling anything for you. This is the easiest pattern. It looks luxurious because of the yarn I'm using. A couple people had mentioned to me on social media how fancy it was. And I'm like, no, this is the easiest pattern ever. So you should definitely try it. And it's a great social project. Like, you do not have to think about it at all. You can walk around with it easily and work on it. So those are my 2 finished objects. So I have 1 new cast on, and keeping in line with trying new things, I have been wanting to learn Tunisian crochet for quite a while. If you follow TL Yarn Crafts, Tony, she has amazing patterns. She has fantastic tutorials online, and she has published a book on Tunisian crochet. And I'm just so intrigued by the stitches and the ease of how it looks to build it. So I have been wanting to do it for a long time. I was talking to Lori about it, and she's like, oh, we really want to do some Tunisian crochet classes, but no one else does it. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to totally pick up a project and work this out. So I started the Ocean Tunisian Cowl by Nicole Niewoehner, and I'm definitely probably not saying that right, and I apologize. This is a free pattern. So I am using, here's what I have so far. Of course, I'll input a picture of what it will look like. So I'm working flat, and then it will be seamed up like that. So essentially where I've started is kind of like the ribbing down here at the bottom. Super easy, very rhythmic, very fun to do. And then just today I was working on this stitch up here, which I think is I've already forgot the name of the stitch that I'm on. But it took me a little figuring out, but actually once you get doing it, it's also very easy. So I'm really enjoying this. And so yeah, I'm not very far into it. I am using a yarn, again, from my stash, because that's what I'm trying to do more often. This yarn I've had for quite a while. It is from the Fiber Seed. It is her Sprout Sock. So this calls for fingering weight, but a regular skein of fingering weight wasn't quite enough yardage. But this skein is bigger. It is 510 yards. So this is the colorway Beehive. And this is what it looks like caked up. So I'm really excited about this. This is a new skill, very fun though. I will say I've only been doing it here at my desk when I work on it, just because it's such a long flat piece, and it kind of makes it easier to hold it and kind of go across and then back while it's like laid out on my desk. Not to say that after I get comfortable, I can't do it anywhere, but for right now while I'm learning. And honestly, most of the cowl is this stitch that I just started. So once I get a good rhythm to this, I'm just going to go till I need to. And then I think I finish back up with the ribbing. So that is super fun. And I'm housing it in one of my bags from Kelley McDonald. And she doesn't have a website. She sells off of Facebook and Instagram, which I have linked below, that you can follow her. And a lot of times she just posts fabric she has, and you can basically build your own bag. what you'd like from her. So love her bags. All right, so that's the only new thing I've cast on. So let's get into whips. So I worked a little bit more on my little personal sock tube. You can see where I was, so I put in a little bit more. This, not housed in a bag, just on top of my cart or in my purse usually. This yarn is by Loco. It is her merino sock base in the colorway Emerald City. And just for those of you that have never done like an afterthought sock or made your own sock from a sock tube, if you've ever got a sock tube made from somebody, just for reference, I pulled out a sock I have. This is an old sock that fits me well to kind of see how far I'm going. So I kind of held this up. I don't like very tall socks. So I'm well past like one sock. If I would have wanted to do, I mean, even right now I could make it the leg taller. I could basically right now just do the toe decreases right now. And then I would cut in an afterthought heel. Or I can just keep knitting this double. So I basically have the length of 2 full socks is what I usually do. And then I do the toe, and then I'll cut in, I'll split it, I'll fold it in half, and then I will cut and do the other toe and cuff, and then I'll cut again each one to do the afterthought heel. I don't know, hopefully that made sense. So right now I could just do a toe and then I would just cut in a heel, but I'm kind of enjoying just working on this giant tube. I don't know why. If it gets too long and bothers me, I might be like, okay, it needs to be cut down. So I put in a little marker for me this morning where my toe decreases would be. So that's where I will cut and then make the toe based on the length I like my socks usually. So, all right, and then I made progress on my other sock I'm working on. So last podcast, I had finished my first Favorite Things socks made by Maddie, and I hadn't really touched them, and then my goal this month is to finish this pair, and so I picked it up and couldn't put it down, essentially. I had knit night with Maddie last night, and this is what I was working on, because this patterning is so easy. Again, it's in another bag by Maddie's mom, Kelley. This was one I ordered fabric. This is BTS fabric inside and out. And she custom made this bag for me, and I love it. So this is sock 2. I am past the heel. Let's see, move that out of the way. And Maddie's pattern came with the Sock Yarn Society box from August. Yes. This is the color that came with the box, and it came with Maddie's pattern. This colorway is Copacabana from Arkansas Yarn Co. You cannot order this. You had to have the sock box to get it. But Maddie's pattern you can get by itself. It is available on Ravelry to purchase separately. And it's called the Favorite Things Socks. And I'm telling you, I cannot say enough good things about this. If you like mostly vanilla socks, but also don't want to get bored, this has a 2-row repeat. You will have it memorized after doing it like twice. And so it's mindless. It's very easy, and she doesn't do it on the back side. She just does it on the front. She does do a heel flap and gusset. I chose to do a shadow wrap heel because that's my heel of choice. But yeah, so these should definitely get done before the end of the month. And I love this color. Both Maddie and I, our favorite color is blue, so it works well that that's her month that she had a pattern in the box. I'm sure that was well thought out. All right, so I have 3 sweaters that have been getting some love. This one has been getting the most love. This is in my Knick Knack Knits bag. Love this bag. Love the see-through. This is the sweater for my husband that I've been working on. So this is the single malt sweater by Max and Sear. And I'm going to turn this around so you can see where I was last time. I can pick it up where it looks like a sweater. You can see my little, what is this, s'mores, I think. Yep. I've got quite a bit of progress done on this. I have split for sleeves and now I'm just booking. And just like Maddie's socks, this is super easy repeat. Super easy. I have the pattern in my bag, but I don't even look at it. So basically I'm just going to keep going on this till my husband wants to try it on to make sure it's the appropriate length for him. But I don't have to think about it, and I can do it without looking. So again, perfect social knit. Don't have to think about it. This was the other thing I took to knit night last night and worked on because it's so mindless and no problem. I'm going to get this done for him by the end of the calendar year, way before that, unless I run into some kind of problem, which I do not expect to. Wonderful pattern. Cannot suggest it enough. I am using Knit Picks Wool of the Andy worsted in the colorway Grizzly Heather. So that's definitely got the most love lately because it's at such an easy place. My other 2 sweaters aren't hard by any means, but they're still flat. They're not connected. They don't look like a sweater yet. This is in my Fringe Supply Co. bag, which, of course, they are out of business now. This is my staple linen top. This is the project I signed up to do for Hohi's Fall Knit Along right now. And I have made some good progress. I had just started it on the last podcast. So you see where my marker was. I had literally just started it. So you can see this is the front edging. I'll post a picture of, what it looks like. It has that nice detail to a certain point. In fact, I think I'm almost at that point. Oh yeah, I've just started the increases for armhole shaping. So I'm almost done with this middle section. And then it'll be very easy. I am using Arkansas Yarn Co. in their Damask alpaca base. And this, let me see if I still have the tag in here. Yep. Is 51% baby alpaca, 25% linen, 24% tussa silk. And I know I've mentioned it, but if you're new here, I like to specifically mention this one because I had previously tried to make this top using linen is what it called for, and it hurt my hand and I hated it and I pretty much rage quit 2 years ago, actually for the Hohi Knit Along. So this time going so much better, enjoying this yarn very much, not hurting my hands, not hard pattern at all. Really love the color. I'm really loving this yarn. I'm excited to get it done and wear it because I think it'll be really, really nice with the combo. So I have one more. This is probably the one I've worked on the least of the 3. So this is in Mrs. Brown's bags. One of her very large bags. And this is my Cloud 9 sweater. This is also Arkansas Yarn Co. yarn. This is the first custom dye Lori ever did for me. And I actually didn't pick the color. I just knew I wanted something like cool and moody for this sweater. It's very feminine looking. And this is what Lori picked for me. It is on sparkle base, held with mohair. And it's lovely. So you see, I did make some progress on it. It's just a lot of back and forth, which is fine. Oh, it feels nice. So let me show you what the yarn looks like caked. It's just like kind of like an icy bluish gray. That's pretty accurate, actually. I love it so much. So yeah. So I've had this yarn for quite a while, just waiting for it. And I love too, you can really see it right here, but it's like where the color breaks, there's these random like orange flecks. And I love it. I know that might annoy some people since it's such cool blue. I love it. There's a really big one right there on the bottom. So, of course, everyone knows I rave about, well, all of Lori's yarn, but her speckle base is the best speckle base ever. I mean, I have not found one better that is still soft and amazing. So, that is all of my works in progress that I've been actively working on. So, I want to take a moment. I don't always do this, but I want to talk about future projects. So we were going to talk about it again. So at the beginning, I had finished my Tassels in the Sky, and I loved it so much. I was, one, sad that it was already done being worked on, and two, sad because I promised it for a source sample, which means I didn't get to keep it. So Lori had one more skein of this color. This is the Peach Mojito in her slub base, which is her pearl, she calls it, base, and I snagged it up. So I basically have the exact same yarn of what I made that Tassels in the Sky. So you'll think you're seeing a repeat, but it's going to be a second one. I am casting this on. In fact, I was kind of waiting to film today before I wound it up, so it looks all pretty. Because, I mentioned I'm going to DFW Fiber Fest next week. I leave next Thursday. And this is going to be my DFW project because, like I said, it is so easy to work on and small that it's going to be easy to carry around my wrist as I'm walking around, as I'm meeting people, as I'm shopping, that I thought this would be the perfect thing. So I purposely didn't cake it up right when she gave it to me when she came in the mail because I didn't want to start on it right away. I wanted to wait to cast on for the Fiber Fest. I figured I'd bring another project or two to work on the hotel or at night or dinner, but this is going to be my all-day Friday. If you see me, I will be working on this. So I want to talk a little bit about this because there was a few people that had mentioned that it was so beautiful, it looked complicated. This is a free pattern, so I'm not giving anything away. This pattern, you cast on 3 stitches. You knit front and back, knit through the front and the back, stockinette, whatever side you're on, and knit through the front and back on the last stitch. That is literally it. So you knit front and back, knit 1, knit front and back. Turn your work, knit front and back, purl across to the last stitch, knit front and back. Same over and over and over. You don't even need to look at your work while you're holding double. It is amazing. It is such a fun project, and I think that the combination of the 2 yarns together are what make it look real fancy, luxurious, feminine. So it's all about your yarn choice. Now, you could go stash diving depending on what you have. I know a lot of people have quite a big mohair stash. I do not. But depending on what yarn you choose is going to really make it or break it, I think, with this project. But as far as the knitting itself, it is so easy. So get this pattern and do it, I suggest, because I think I'm almost calling it like a kerchief kind of style, because it's not like a full shawl. Like I said, I didn't even use, I bet I had a half a skein left of this. Now it does call for 3 big tassels. I made 2 because I didn't like the one in the middle. But even the picture online, I just think it's cute in the fall. Like I imagine it like with jeans and a jean jacket and this cute little kerchief to just fight the little breeze. But I love this so much. I cannot say enough good things about it. So I will definitely be casting that on. And honestly, I imagine by the next podcast, it'll be finished because that's how quick it goes. So my other future project I want to talk about is the West Knits M-Cowl. So I feel like I've been like a serious knitter for a couple of years where I've really gotten into trying harder things, more garments, things like that. I have never knit a Stephen West pattern. Now I have purchased some and I have some in my queue that I want to make, but I've never knit one. I feel like I've only been really aware of his mystery knit along the last 2 years. And I mean, I feel like everyone knows who Stephen West is. Even if you don't, that's not your style, you know who he is. The last 2 years, the shawl projects are absolutely massive. And I don't see myself wearing a shawl like that. I like shawls, but those 2 shawls just look like you hang it on your wall, not that you wear on your body. At least me, personally. Now, there is something about a make-along. Obviously, I'm co-hosting 2 right now, and I'm already thinking about future ones because it's as Maddie said last night, the camaraderie of your other peers are doing it, and it's exciting to see, oh, well, what are you doing? Oh, what colors are you using? And so I would have never thought I wanted to knit the mystery knit along, but I had decided that I would give it a go with 2 conditions. The first condition was I was not forcing myself to finish in October. So his mystery knit along is in October. It's usually 4 weeks long. You get 1 clue per week. But again, if you've seen the last 2 years and the end of those, the amount of stitches on your needles and finishing a section is no small feat. I would have to not knit anything else at all to attempt to finish that. And that I feel like would make me hate it more. So I'm like, I'm not committing to doing it in October. I mean, I'll probably start strong. Like the first week, it seems like everybody can usually get it done before the second week clue. And that's fun. But I'm okay with being late to the party, on finishing. The other thing, because it is such a big thing, this year it calls for 5 skeins of yarn, 5 skeins of fingering weight yarn. And, that's no small feat. I was only going to do it if I could find it from my stash. And because I'm like, oh, that's money already spent. I'm not going to spend money on 5 skeins of yarn and then make this insane shawl that's fun to make, but I don't know if I'm going to wear it. 5 skeins of yarn, I mean, that's not cheap. So I'm like, at least if it's money already paid, then I'm not worrying about it. I'm not thinking about it. So I have been going back and forth. My big problem is I don't have a lot of tonals in my stash. When I discovered indie dyed yarn, I discovered sock knitting. So I was all about speckles and variegated and self-striping. So I have lots of single skeins of that stuff, which is not helpful in this shawl. So I think I finally found the perfect combination. So hold it all up at once and then talk about what it is. Now, in this light, I know what you're thinking. The pinks look too similar. I promise you they're not. And I even did take a black and white picture, which is suggested if you want to see contrast. And there's plenty of contrast. So I think it's just blowing up in this light. That you can tell better. Okay. So what I'm using, these are my newest. I just got these at the Arkansas Yarn Crawl in August. So this is Suburban Stitcher sock yarn in the colorway It's Electric. That is coming off brighter than, it's pretty bright tonal, but that's kind of like more electric coming off there. And then I have 2 skeins of Malabrigo sock weight in fuchsia. Now, this is the funniest thing. This is exactly the same color, but you can see on this camera, do you see how different these shades look? One is definitely darker than the other. And I was actually more worried about this problem than these two being too close. But again, seeing other Stephen West shawls, the colors are done in like sections, so I'm not overly concerned with this. And then the pop of color, or just to me, the different color I'm using is this one. This is Leading Men Fiber Arts. They're fingering weight in the colorway Fortune Teller. So it's just like a navy blue. And I am really happy with this combination. So I'm going to give it a try. And you know what? If I don't wear the shawl, I'm really excited about making it along with like everyone, because it seems like everyone does it. And I really enjoy that everything I hear about it is the make along. There's videos for every single step of the way. So I'm going to be learning new things, and I'm really into that. And he has very good tutorials that are well explained. So I figure even if I don't love the ending project, I may find a new stitch or something that I do fall in love with. So that is what the future projects are. I'm really excited and nervous to start that MCAL. So, all right. So next is my mention of the podcast of the week. If you're new here, I always like to mention a podcast that I love because I watch more podcasts than TV. I have a lot. Usually I have about, I think right now, as of this morning, I have 75 episodes to watch on my queue. That's how far behind, because there's so many. So this week is one of my new favorites. I think I discovered them just like a couple months ago, maybe, which is the Sweet Pea and Chickadee podcast. It is a mother and daughter, Kimberly and Brooke. And a lot of times it's just Kimberly because Brooke is maybe a junior in high school, so she's pretty busy. But they are the cutest, and I just love their aesthetic, and Kimberly likes to try all the things, and so you should definitely go check them out. I will have them linked below. All right, so a quick note on spinning. So I had mentioned the last podcast that I was, I'm learning my e-spinner, figuring it out, and I was really struggling with plying. I ended up, from my friend Lori, discovering a group on Facebook called Ozarks Fiber Group. Now this group is for people that live in Arkansas who are spinners, no matter how you spin. Which is really cool. They accepted me into their group. It is a private group. And I had introduced myself and said, hey, I'm Lindsey from Little Rock. I'm really, I'm getting into spinning, enjoying it, having a hard time. I would really love some help with plying specifically. And I heard back from them almost immediately and said, hey, can you meet this weekend? So 2 lovely members, Ree and Danny, met with me at the library, and Ree brought her wheel and was spinning. Danny brought her drop spindle, but she was helping me a lot, so I don't think she got to spin at all while we were there. And we did some plying together. So this may not look like much if you're like really good at spinning, but I'm really happy with this. So I plied 2 different colored yarns together. So that's what you're seeing at the top. The reason this at the bottom is just green is because one of my bobbins, the blue, ran out first before the green. But then Danny had taught me a method to kind of make a bracelet with the yarn around my hand a certain way. So I applied the green with itself. So it still has the same thickness, but you not have to take it off the bobbin and put it with something else. You just keep going and finish it out. So this is what I made with Danny's help. And so I so appreciate them. If you live in Arkansas, if you're a spinner and you don't know of them, find them on Facebook. Again, I'll have it linked below. It's the Ozarks Fiber Group. And basically once a month, because it's all around Arkansas, once a month, someone hosts a spin-in where they have a potluck and just all day spin. I mean, and you don't have to spin. You could come bring crochet, knitting, just visit with other spinners to be around them. So that is super cool, and I'm so happy I found them. So this was super helpful. All right, so briefly acquisition. So my only yarn acquisition was to replace the yarn for my next Tassels in the Sky. I do have 2 book acquisitions, and they're actually spinning related. I think I may have mentioned this one on the last podcast. This is the book Yarnitecture, a knitter's guide to spinning, building the yarn you want. So I read through a little bit. It's really great. I think it will help me the more I get into it. This one I got used online, but it's like perfect condition. This one is the complete guide to spinning yarn, techniques, projects, and recipes. And I think this one is going to be really good. I haven't got into reading it, but I mean, this goes into like, it starts out with history. And I think this is great because this is really a beginning to end spinner's guide. So, you know, I have just been buying beautiful colored fiber from different places, but this goes into like, if you're doing it yourself, if you want to, you know, build your own spindle, different kinds of wheels, what kinds of materials, different techniques for spinning, like blending your own yarn. See, I'm not even doing this kind of stuff. I just buy it ready to go. But it has the beginning all the way to even dyeing your own, to blocking, to winding them into balls, to combining different colors, what they look like as hand spun, how to do that. So this, I think, will be an amazing, amazing help. So yeah, that is all the acquisitions I have, because next week is the Fiber Fest, and I have been trying to not buy anything because I have been waiting to go to that. So again, I'm kind of going with eyes from a new spinner. I even went on the list again yesterday of vendors to look at all the vendors who have spinning stuff specifically, and there is a lot. So I'm really excited. There is one yarny thing I'm kind of thinking of buying, which is Dawn Barker. She used to be a Chasing Rabbits fiber, but now I think it's her yarn company is Barker Wool, and she also makes patterns, and she is known for the assigned pooling patterns. I'll put in a picture of one of them here, but basically where it has little bits of color throughout your yarn, and when you get to the color, you do a different kind of stitch. Otherwise, it's just like stocking in until you get to the color bits, and then you do a little different kind of stitch. She has a bunch of shawl patterns, and she has a sweater pattern also for that. And I've been really intrigued, and I don't think she is going to be at the festival, but she said her samples and her yarn will be at Madeline Tosh and Hill Country Weavers booths. So I really want to see what those shawls look like in person to see if I'm really interested. And if so, I'll probably buy what I need to make one of those because I'm interested in those. So otherwise, I'm really going to try to stick to the spinning things. Another booth that I'm really excited about, which somehow I skipped over when I first looked at the list, is Dean & Bean's sock machines. So I don't know if I've mentioned them before on the podcast. So Dean & Bean sock machine is 3D printed sock machine. Now, my e-spinner I just got is 3D printed also. So the great thing about a 3D printed is they're still great, but they're a lot cheaper than an all metal. So if you want an Erlbacher sock machine, and this may be completely wrong, I feel like the minimum price you're going to pay is like $1,400. I priced out a Dean & Bean sock machine on their website, and I think I could get one with shipping under $700. So they have a booth at DFW. So I'm interested to really look at the machines, see what we're dealing with. I've recently watched 2 podcasts which kind of had reviews. One was a specific review of their sock machine, and they did not seem happy. But the things that they were complaining about in the video, all the commenter below was like, oh, you just didn't find the right one. You're not doing this right, or such and such, which I thought was interesting. And then I watched someone else. It's like, oh, I just got this sock machine. It's amazing. It's great. And I'm like, okay, so that's like 2 totally different reviews. So I really want to go to and see them with my own eyes, see them in action, to see how hard it is to set up and what kind of, sock it does have, put my fingers on it. So that'll be awesome to see them there too. So yeah, I think that is all I have. Let me look at my notes. Yeah, that is all I have. So thank you so much for joining me as always. So next week, I will be in Dallas. So if you're going to be there on Friday, please find me, say hello. I will have stickers to hand out. I will be knitting on my tassels in the sky as I talk to you. And then the following week when I podcast, I'll have goodies. Depending how many goodies I have, maybe it'll have to be a separate video. But I'm hoping not to go crazy. But we all say that before a yarn festival or a yarn crawl, don't we? So I'm hoping to not go crazy. But anyway, so thank you so much for being here. I appreciate you so much. Please comment below. Tell me what you're working on. I love to interact with people on here, on Instagram, on Ravelry. Make sure you're using the hashtags for the make-alongs to win a prize for the month. And I'll see you in 2 weeks. Bye.